I want to introduce the idea of digital transformation because it goes much further than hardware, software, geeks, and data. So digital transformation is a slow and evolutionary process where the social relations between things that were previously disconnected change. So it's a slow and ongoing process. And our big challenge with digital transformation is we know that the future is not going to look like today, but it's very hard to imagine what this future is going to look like. It's unfolding very differently in different countries and in different contexts. In some instances, it's happening beneath our feet without us even fully knowing this, which means that for digital transformation, we have to pay attention, again, as I said, to workplaces, to whole industries and how industries are changing, but at the same time, pay careful attention to who is experimenting with the future, who's trying to figure out new ways of educating the workforce, who's trying new ways of accessing international markets, who's trying new things in our economies, because these are the people that we have to almost reduce their risks so that they can try new things. And not all of them will succeed, but if we can encourage people and make it easier for people to try new things, then I think we can support innovation and experimenting with new business models and new arrangements. So with digital transformation, the emphasis shifts from just the exchange of data to how people are connected and how people are arranged. So the focus shifts from the exchange of data to how people are connected and how people work together. And a colleague of mine the other day said to me, this is actually where lofty ambitions like the SDGs are so critical, because in a way it forces us to not think sectorally and not to think too rigidly along certain technology domains, but to think health, livelihoods, poverty, across the whole society. It's a completely different way of connecting things. Now, I don't know about the Balkans, but here in Southern Africa, what we often have is that the SDGs are implemented very narrowly by government ministries and their close collaborators and partners in the private sector. That is not going to lead to any form of a transformation in a society. So we have to, in a way, try and find these new ways of working together that isn't organized around how we work together today. With digital transformation, the boundaries between different industries and knowledge domains must be challenged. Or maybe some would say these boundaries between different domains disappear. But I think for us as development practitioners, it's easier to say we must be careful not to fall too deep into a trap of thinking of who is here now and who can we work with and how are they organized now, to thinking about how will people be fed in 10 years from now? How will education take place in 10 years from now? And who's already trying experiments in that direction? Now, there's a very rich literature on transformations. One of my favorite authors in that regards is Professor Frank Geels. He's now with Manchester. Other authors include Professor John Schott. It's really interesting to read, because to support a transformation, especially a digital transformation, as I said, you have to go beyond the boundaries of what exists now and how things are organized right now. I think that makes it very difficult and different from how we've been doing development in the past. I mean, if you just imagine, what would it take to say that a sector is transformed? When it's transformed, it doesn't look like it looked a few years ago. It is fundamentally different. The key relationships are different. The key institutions that will guide society, that maybe plays regulatory or other supporting functions, would be different. And in many cases, those the current organizations or the organizations of the past will not always transform. Some of them will be left behind. So the question is, who plays a role, who has a voice at the table in even imagining what the institutions of the future should look like, what the organizations of the future should look like, and how will they be governed? So again, I've already said we mustn't think only of ICT. Digitalization requires new kinds of management. It requires new science. It requires new businesses to be created. I think for the first time in mankind's history, we have several multinational companies that are bigger than many governments in the world. I mean, if you just imagine this, how do some of these software companies coordinate 30,000 software developers to work on code? I mean, I just have to coordinate a small team, and that makes my head hurt. So imagine the scale that there are new things being tried that we have never done before. We still need higher education, even if some people say that higher education itself is going to be challenged. We still need people that can think abstract. We still need problem solvers. I think what we also need to pay attention to is we really have to pay attention to pathways out of poverty and pathways out of lower skilled traps, where people are stuck in a job and they're working full day and there's very little time to get any further education or alternative education in place. So we're going to have to do things at the high end all the way through to things where we can help adults that are maybe currently employed somewhere to get additional skills. Adult literacy and these other things will remain if it doesn't become even more important.